Speaking of holes, does anyone have a sister? Welcome to Hey Guys Podcast. I'm Rob, that's Liam, and this week we watched Toy Soldiers, released in 1991 and starring Sean Astin, Louis Gossett Jr., Andrew Divoff, and that guy from Trading Places, about a boarding school that is taken over by drug dealers, and the kids are used as a bargaining chip to have the lead dealer's father released from prison. It's up to our gang of plucky outcasts to find a way to help the outside forces from liberating the school. I mean, it's a good job that our 5 friends were placed in the exact same room along with the leading expert in radio receivers and detonators. I mean, you couldn't get any luckier than that. Or how about the fact that the special forces can't do anything on the outside without consulting the dean of the school first? I mean, the bad guys didn't have much opposition to take over the school, did they? Their leading issue was the sheriff and his men hiding in the back of a car exactly, 10 feet away from the front door? Just how blind do they think Divoff and his crew are? Also, how does Sean Astin know exactly where the random basement was to go into in the first place? Or the exact location of the vent that would lead him into the dean's office? Does Billy case every school before being sent there? 4 schools in 4 years. So that logic would dictate he has been at this school for a few months at best. Just enough time to make lifelong friends who will do anything to help you foil the plans of angry drug dealers with an arsenal of guns the army would be proud of. Now, this entire intro makes you think that I'm shitting on this film. I am a fan of this film. I do enjoy this film. I enjoyed this film again. The score, I think, is great. But when you look at the logic of this film, mate, I mean, it's off. It's off.
There is definitely some questions, and I think that actually comes largely from, put it this way, I'd never seen this film before, so this is the first time I watched it, and about halfway through I looked over at my wife who was watching with me and I said, I bet you this is based on a novel. And she looked into it and she's like, yeah, it's based on a novel. And it's because there are certain characters and certain actions that take place where if you were like writing a novel, for instance, you'd have more time to explain it. This isn't a particularly short film. It's still an hour and 50 minutes long, but with all these characters, it means those kind of explanations get pushed into the background and you have to go on the kind of like, well, let's just hope nobody asks too many questions like Rob just did. And yeah, it's just, there are certain, like Denholm Elliott, for instance, is the headmaster. Don't get me wrong, Denholm Elliott looks perfectly at home in a posh boarding school, largely because of Indiana Jones, but he just looks right for that part. But narratively, he has no business being in this film. It makes no sense. He literally does nothing. If you were writing a just a pure screenplay, that character would be nowhere near this movie. He would be kicked out the door at the start and it'd just be an emphasis on the kids. But because it's a book, and just to be clear, I haven't read the book, but I'm just making assumptions here. All those additional characters, they're just like, well, we've got to leave them in because they're in the book. Or they've got to do this because they did it in the book. And of course, like you say, when you put it up on screen without inner monologues and time to explain these things, as soon as you start pulling at threads, this movie starts falling in pieces. I didn't even think about what you mentioned there with Billy. Is it Billy? Yeah, Sean Austin's
Billy Tepper.
character.
Billy Tepper.
Yeah, the fact that he's jumping around between schools every 2 minutes, but clearly could not have been like, the whole film is basically built around the idea that these are lifelong friends, and he must have known them for like 5 minutes.
He's dragged them through a lot before that's happened, by the looks of it. Mm-hmm. But he said you've been in 4 schools in 5 years, or 5 schools in 4, whatever. But basically, he's been there not long enough to make friends who would do this for you.
Well, he is, as Dean. Lewis
Dean Parker.
Jr. Dean Parker, thank you very much. Said, he kind of like every so often they just cut to him. And he's like, he is a leader of men, or these kids are rejects, so they're not going to take kindly to terrorists taking over their school.
As well.
It's about to kick off.
I don't trust him to get to school or class on time, but I trust him for this. Like, okay,
to fight off terrorists.
Thank you for giving Denholm Elliott his flowers as well, by the way, because I just called him that guy from Trading Places. I was just,
just be clear, you were the only person who would say that guy from Trading Places.
It was a throwback joke to when we did Trading Places, and I said I recognized him as the headmaster from this, and you said people would recognize him from Indiana Jones.
So having seen this now, it's even more mental that you would have picked this, because he's basically playing the same character, only much less memorable in a much worse film. And when I say much worse film, like, I'm the same as you. This film has loads of problems. I enjoyed it. It's not Indiana fucking Jones, I'll tell you that much.
Oh, God, no.
But I can see why, if I'd watched this say when I was like 10, 11 years old, that this really would have had an impact on me, because the whole idea of like,
Age I
a
watched
group
it,
of
to be fair.
exactly, yeah. And the what I wasn't expecting with this film is that there is a genuine sense of threat. Like, this isn't a kids movie. One of the things, and I guess one of the issues with this film, is that it truly buries the leads. Like, I think it has one of the most misleading movie titles of all time. Toy Soldiers is a terrible title for this film. The poster is massively misleading. The poster says you're going to be watching like Sleepers, but the premise says you're going.
Sorry, is that the poster where it's just black, but you've got them in like a purple tinge with it? Okay, yeah.
Or they're all lined up. The premise says Red Dawn, but the reality is it really isn't either of those things. It gets a hint of Red Dawnish towards the end when it really gets ludicrous. And I appreciate that, somebody's reading a book, they're just doing a line of coke, and they're like, oh, dude, we've done Die Hard in a building, we've done Die Hard on a plane. And someone's like, how about we do Die Hard like in a boarding school? It's like, oh, yeah, but what about, but I just watched Red Dawn and I'm feeling that. But, well, we can't do it with the Russians because the Cold War's over. How about Colombians? Everyone's into drugs at the moment. Sure, smash those two together, do another line. We've got ourselves a script. But you look at, like I said, you look at the poster, it doesn't suggest you're going to get that kind of film. You look at read the title, and I'm just like, Toy Soldiers. I have no idea what the fuck this is. And I was trying to find like other movies with genuinely misleading titles. And the ones I came up with are Terry Gilliam's Brazil, Friday the 13th, the final chapter. Definitely wasn't the final chapter. You can make an argument for Mission Impossible because they always complete the mission, so clearly not impossible. Naked Lunch, which is a bizarre title for a truly bizarre film. The Never-Ending Story, spoiler alert, the story does end. I saw somebody write this. I never would have thought of it. Old Boy, he's solidly middle-aged, which I found quite funny. Train Spotting, nonsense. And the best of the lot, Snatch, which I actually think is pretty funny. I mean, the fact that they got away with calling that movie Snatch. Do you know, my wife watches a show called RuPaul's Drag Race. You're probably aware of the show.
My wife watches it.
One of the games in that show is called Snatch Game. And I keep saying to Beth, I was like, I don't think you know how gross that sounds. One of the rounds is called Snatch Game. Are you fucking kidding me? Sorry, a complete aside to RuPaul's Drag Race.
That's okay, because I can give you another one that's titled, but it's actually another Die Hard in this. Mate, if we did a season, I've already got my 2 Die Hard in the School films.
Oh, just Die Hard in anything. Yeah, that'd be a good shot.
No, Die Hard in a School. I've already got another one.
Specifically Die Hard. All right, go for it.
There's a film called Masterminds.
Okay.
Have you heard of it?
Never heard of it. Nope.
No. Okay, so if I told you Masterminds and I didn't tell you it was Die Hard in a School, you wouldn't think it was Die Hard in a School. It's basically about Patrick Stewart and his gang of bad guys taking over a prestigious boarding school where the outcast who has just been expelled from that school is able to shoot people, plant bombs.
Sounds like a budget version of Green Room almost.
Well, it's I want to say it's like a budget film version of this. It's the same thing. They take over a school, and instead of a bunch of kids, it's just one kid doing a Die Hard, literally.
Oh, I see.
And as I think about it now, there's another one as well with Corey Haim, where they did Die Hard in a school. That Demolition School or Demolition University, I think it was. Called.
These are some classic Rob D cuts.
Oh, mate,
I have no idea what any of these films are.
Demolition High.
What?
Where again? Terrorists take over a school, and a high school is taken over by terrorists with deadly, far-reaching intentions. But one heroic, resourceful student decides to take the fight right to them.
I thought you were getting ahead of yourself when I was just, we could do like a season on Die Hard and something. And you're like, no, Die Hard in a school. I was like, how many Die Hards in a school do you think there are? Apparently, there are fucking loads of them, and I didn't know.
And apparently, I've seen them all.
Yeah, but that is the thing, though. This isn't quite, like you said, when I read the synopsis, I thought this was going to be like a pure cross between Die Hard and Red Dawn. I know I made a joke about the start, but you watch the film, it isn't really that. The stakes are a little bit more realistic. Everything's a touch more grounded. Maybe other than the terrorists themselves, who I can't decide if they're the worst terrorists in the world or the best ones, because the whole thing is they show up, you have the opening sequence, which is really cool. I wasn't expecting the movie to start in Colombia. Yeah. And they have this whole plan, and they've got a helicopter, and they've clearly done a huge amount of planning. And his father's just not there. He's in a different country. And it's just like, Jesus Christ, guys, check your fucking intel before
you're watching the wrong plane for a start, as they've said.
Exactly. You think, okay, they can do it. You're like, all right, they do it once, but then they fuck up again when they get to the school. Like, they get to the school and the kid's already gone. And like, guys, considering like everything else, the lengths they go to, like they show up, in fairness, to get over the board and everything. They've got rocket launchers, they've got mounted fucking almost like miniguns. They've wired up the entire school with explosives and fancy electronics and stuff. You're like, all right, these guys are pretty badass. But their intel is just ass. They keep showing up 10 minutes late, the morons.
Can I ask a question as well? Because I didn't want to mention it in my intro. So we call them terrorists. They're not terrorists, are they?
Well,
they're drug dealers.
They are drug dealers, but once you start taking over schools and holding kids hostages,
you become a terrorist. Okay,
I think that I would class that as terrorists. Well, what they're doing are terrorist actions. I know fundamentally they're not terrorists because the actions they're taking aren't like politically driven. He just wants to get his dad back, basically, and they are.
I mean, fair play. How spoiled must you be as well?
Oh my God!
How spoiled must you be to kick your toys out of the pram? You took my daddy away. I'm going to take over at school until you give him back.
I mean, it's one of the things you mentioned with this film about like the kids being all plucky under, like these, like, I was just like, wait, what is this school? Like, they all seem incredibly rich. And it's like, oh yeah, because they are. Like, the whole thing is these kids are posh, rich, little wankers. That is the real, like, Billy, he's kind of a bellend, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I'm glad you agree.
No, like, again, because they've been kicked out of school, so he's got a discipline problem, that's fine. But if I was the kid who walked past him, and he put his fingers in my food to do a taste test, he's getting punched in the face, dude.
Well, this is why. Remember on last week's podcast when we did Who Framed Roger Rabbit, we talked about one of the reasons it looks so good is because aesthetically it was an evolutionary dead end because of CG. We basically, it looked fantastic and then we moved into a different direction. So it's kind of stuck in time. It's the same with Sean Astin as a bad guy. It was an evolutionary dead end. They tried it for this film and then somebody was like, this guy's like 5'4" and looks like my sister's little brother. Wait, my sister's little brother? That would just make him my little brother. That makes no sense. I apologize. But you know what I mean?
Your nephew.
He just looks so cheruby. He doesn't look badass. Like you said, I was thinking the exact same thing. Of all the things he does, I was like, if that motherfucker put his finger in my food, I would hang him out to fucking dry. Unbelievable. And don't get me wrong, I love Sean Astin, and he is very watchable in this film. I just don't buy him as a badass at all. But maybe in the world of like posh rich kids, maybe it kind of passes muster a bit more.
Do you know what I loved as well? You already said it, right? You said their intel is shit. They're watching the wrong plane. They've come a day late. They've missed the kid already. Do you know who has fantastic intel, apparently?
Who's that?
The school. The records the school keeps on these kids. Because it's not like just your father is a senator. Your father is like the, what did he say? Like the deputy of the Republican Party.
Yeah.
They get to Billy Tepper and he opens his phone. He goes, what's your dad do? Oh, he's a contractor. It says here your dad has the third largest contracting company in the world. Why would his notes need to say it's the third largest contracting company? Like what background checks are they doing?
All I'm thinking is that, basically, right next to my house, just on the corner, is a really posh boarding school in Edinburgh. Okay. It's called Fetties, and it's what Hogwarts is basically based on. And in terms of like the kids who went there, it was like Tony Blair went there and stuff like that. And we often walk past, and you can't just walk onto the grounds. Like you've got to be invited, basically. And it's all that idea that not only do you have to be rich to go there, but you have to be on like you have to know somebody who knows somebody. Like I don't think you can just, unless you're talking ludicrous amounts of money, you can't just show up and go, oh, I can pay the fees to go to Fetties. I suspect you have to know people to go to Fetties. And I wonder if that's the same with this school, where they're just like, listen, you can't just show up with money. Your dad best be like the third richest something or another. And that's where they have, but make no mistake, it's still bizarre in this like pre-internet world as well, that they have so many details on this kid. But it works out for Lewis Caddy, who's got all the details he needs for these kids when he's I was going to say giving them a dressing down, but one of the strangest things I found about this film is that other than the rule to say you have to like basically do roll call every hour, which only happens in the day, they clearly don't have to do it in the evening. So in the evening, pretty much anything goes. The terrorists are so lax with the kids. Yes. It's fucking insane. Yeah. There is a point where the terrorists are supposedly in control. The kids are all out in the yard, whatever you'd call it in America.
The quad.
The quad, yeah.
The quad.
You've got the headmaster doing lessons. One of the kids, just in case you don't know just how fucking posh these kids are, is playing like with a whirly gig. You know, like those like wooden propellers. I'm like, you've got to be fucking shitting me? The kids can basically do whatever the fuck they want as long as they're back. They don't really show. There's no sense of like show of force from other than that they shoot one teacher. I think there's no real show of force from it as far as the kids are concerned. So they have no reason to be scared of them. And as that shows, when they're sent to their room, the school's just been taken over by terrorists. One of the teachers has been capped. They are so fucking chilled about it. They're just like, oh, dude, whatever, man. Like they're straight back to being horny again. And these kids are horny.
Right. So two things. I think I did this two thing last week as well. You just said that when I sent to their rooms. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I approached it in my intro. 7 to a room seems odd.
Bizarre. No, in fairness, I think what they're doing is keeping them in a limited number of rooms. So I don't think 7 kids stay in that room. I think they just throw in random. They've got them lined up, and they're like, "I have 7 in there, 7 in there."
But 7 kids in that room is still odd. But thankfully, they all got to stay together. But they were all allowed to go back to their rooms to get a personal item. And Ricardo Montoya got his soccer ball. That's fine. That's okay. Luckily, Yoga and his mate, who doesn't really get named, are in their own room. So that's fantastic because when you talk about the plane, you're there. And it seemed, I was saying two things. I forgot my other point already. But it just seemed really, really like lackluster in regards to, I'll just put them all together. It's fine because nothing will happen.
Well, it was just so relaxed. And I get like the whole idea that they're kids and stuff like that, and maybe they don't expect them to like fight back or whatever. But you just think like a slight, considering the shows of force that they're willing to show like outside of the school, you think like the opening, which again, surprisingly violent, and kind of I was like, oh, this is like a well-directed like action movie, the intro. Like totally Paul move when he uses his gun as like the gavel in the courtroom.
Yeah,
don't be wrong, super dangerous, pointing at him, just feels he's going to shoot himself. All that stuff is badass. They got a helicopter in the roof. They throw the judge out of the helicopter, who is clearly wearing a parachute, by the way. The scene is still cool, but he's clearly wearing a fucking parachute. Yeah. And it looks like the helicopters had like, I don't know, 15 seconds in the air. By the time they throw him out of their helicopter, of course, for the stunt to work, they have to be super high. And he falls for ages. You're like, dude, the helicopter's only just taken off. He would have hit the ground by now.
He could have got up and walked away.
It was dumb. But they've got over the border. Cool. The sheriff shows up, the worst sheriff in the world. We'll get to him in a minute. They've got that gun. They smoke him. They got rocket launchers. All those explosive. Everything's fantastic. And yet, when they get into the school, they're just letting the kids fucking run the show. It's so strange.
I don't know if it's strange because they've put the fear into them, haven't they? They've said, right, the doors are wired up with explosives.
I think they should have capped a couple of kids. I think they should have capped it. If I was like Lewis Callie, played by what's his name?
Andrew Divoff.
Divoff. He's awesome in this, and he has that sense of kind of of threat, which I think the movie needs, despite the ponytail. And we'll get into ponytails in a second. But I just think beyond shooting the teacher, he doesn't do it in front of the kids and stuff like that. Maybe if he just shoots one of the teachers, because that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. Maybe it's something I missed. What happened to all the teachers? Did they let them go?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was a line about it at the start.
There's a scene where they walked out. So the teachers walk out with the dead teacher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The teachers walk out, and then the only ones left are like they leave the cooks in there or something like that for some reason.
Randomly, let the cooks get on with it. I love it when he's doing pots and pans. You've just got the cooks as extras in the background. They're not bothered about anything that's going on. They're just there to do it. They're probably still getting paid. Yeah. Do they go home at the end of it? Or like, because I'm guessing because they're cooks, they don't live on site. So maybe have they got to stay in the kitchen?
I don't know. They seem very relaxed about it.
Everything is relaxed about this. So you go to the end a little bit, right? And you have Snuffy, who is pretending to have an asthma attack. Okay. Lewis Callie is there to see what's going on. There's an explosion because they've just capped the 2 guys on the roof and he's dropped the grenade.
Yep.
The only one who seems affected by it is Lewis Callie for a second. Yep. The rest of the guys are just having their dinner, all the students and stuff, they're just in the canteen. But then the one guy, just hear that explosion, decides to go and take a piss. So as soon as that explosion happens, he goes to take a piss. So Yogurt's friend then has to leave, and that gives you the showdown then with... And it just seems really out of place. It was just like...
Well, speaking of out of place, maybe this is another thing you can answer, is why is Michael Champion with them? Like what's going on there? Like, just in case nobody noticed, he doesn't look very, I don't know, fucking Colombian to me. Is it explained?
No, it's not explained.
Oh,
Maybe it
thank
is in a
fuck for
book.
that. I was
Maybe
like,
it
I
isn't. But
kept, I was watching, I was just like, they're going to explain the whole Michael Champion thing. I mean, he is like white as fuck. Like, he is properly white. And I was
there's a
just
bunch of
like,
things.
why is
There's,
he in this? Like, sorry, Karen.
so there's a bunch of things with him. It's like when Callie is talking to Deputy Director Brown on the phone, and he
Mhm.
says, because of your willingness to negotiate, the execution that was scheduled for 5 p.m. today is scheduled now for 5 p.m. tomorrow. And in the background, you've got
The
like
thumbs up, yeah.
the thumbs up, and he's holding a microphone. He puts his hand on the receiver, and he goes, "Fantastic, well done!" Like he's some sort of, I don't know, like campaign manager. This is
It's
really.
very
Do
odd.
you
I
know
mean,
what's so
the
funny?
character's strange anyway. He's basically playing the same character in many respects that he plays in Total Recall.
Total
He's
Recall,
like
yeah.
the second guy. He's just the guy who kind of follows along and does the dirty work, blah, blah, blah. Only in this film, him being in there just doesn't make any sense because everyone else looks like they're from Colombia. And then you've just got him where you're just like, why would you can't just go hiring a white dude to be a fucking Colombian drug dealer and not explain
I
things.
don't think he's
Even in
meant to be Colombian.
1991,
He's just
no, he's not. He's too white. He's entirely too white. They're not trying to play him off as Colombian. Every other cast member at least looks vaguely Colombian to my racist white eyes, but he just stands out like a sore thumb. It's strange. It's very
you know what's
strange.
funny about him as well? The fact that Chopper was able to sneak up on him.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
At the end of it made me laugh. It always makes me laugh. He sees the two choppers coming towards him from the distance. He
Mm-hmm.
grabs his rocket launcher. As he's about to fire, a chopper comes from, I don't know, the ground and
Yeah.
pops up on the roof and goes, hello, and shoots him. Where the fuck did it think come? Was it
Where did it come
Airwolf?
from? It's all very serious, and I think that's the one of the things of the film. As good as Lewis Callie is, he has to be good because everyone else is kind of pony and forgettable,
Yeah.
and he's just more strange than anything else. And he's already, you think he like it would be detrimental the fact that he has a ponytail because ponytails, especially in this day and age, when you look back, are just fundamentally quite lame. And I was looking into bad guys with ponytails, and the ones I came up with were Julian Sands from Warlock. So he's a
Steven Seagal.
warlock, so he's got a certain look. Steven Seagal, what was he a bad guy in?
Steven Seagal's a bad guy.
Oh, he is a
Fuck
bad guy.
off.
Yeah, okay, I'll give that. I saw some people say John Travolta in Pulp Fiction, and I was just like, he's a bad guy, but is he bad guy? You know, one of those situations. So I
No,
don't
he's a
think that
bad guy.
counts.
He's a bad guy. He shot a guy in the fucking head and cleaned
He
it up.
did. He's a bad guy, but he's not a villain, I don't think, in the traditional sense. Tong Po from Kickboxer, I'm not having because even though it is a ponytail, it's so non-traditional, it almost doesn't kind of register as a ponytail. You've got the bad guy from Three Ninjas, who you'll know better than I do, because you're a fan of that film, right?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I need to go back to that. Terry Silver from Karate Kid, I think, is an absolute classic from Karate Kid 3.
Yeah.
Just awesome ponytail. Zadar from Tango and Cash, you almost forget about it because it's all about his face. And I actually think the only one really competing with Lewis Callie is probably Cullen Crisp Sr. from Kindergarten Cop, who has an absolutely magnificent ponytail.
Yeah.
So, but I would
mean,
make the argument that Lewis Callie might be the best of the bunch.
That ponytail helps Cullen Crisp because his head is so square.
It is an incredibly square head, super square. Whereas Andrew Divov's he's a much more handsome dude. He actually it's not like he gets away with the ponytail. He somehow pulls it off in this film. Maybe it's the fact that he's South American. I don't know, but
I think so.
Looks cool, and he's like a legitimately awesome bad guy in this film.
It's his whole black shirt gig and everything as well.
Oh, I mean, and the pantaloons he's wearing. Fantastic.
To the point where I can take him with his ponytail, but it's at the end when he becomes frustrated, Louis Callie, and he takes his ponytail out, and his hair is like
it's a bit everywhere.
It's shoulder length. It just doesn't look right.
It doesn't look right, but it does work because it's only at the very end of the movie when he loses his rag and he realizes, basically, he's going to commit suicide. He's going to blow himself up and the school, as he said. And I don't think he ever actually finds out his father's dead, does he? That was an interest. I thought they were going to use that, but he never finds out. But I'd say it was the real secret source of this film, even though, like you said in your intro, it makes no sense. And I said to my wife, I was just like, why is Louis Gossett Jr. so involved in this operation? I know he's the dean of the school, but there's no reason for him to have this kind of access. And she's like, oh, no, but he's the dean. I was like, I don't think you know how the army or the fucking police force work. There's no way he's getting this kind of access.
I love it.
But he is awesome, is my point.
Oh, no, he's fantastic. But I do love it when they catch Billy or catch him, when Billy comes to the other side and they take him to the tent, and Billy's like, the person they call to come and collect him is not any other soldier. It's the dean. They send the dean on his own chopper to come and collect him. It's like, what the fuck?
sequence is ludicrous. Again, that's one of those perfect examples. It might work on the page, but and you knew it was going to happen. So he goes across there because he wants to deliver, let's be clear, sketches over to the army and the police force, whatever you want to call it. So immediately Billy is putting everyone at risk because if he doesn't get there within an hour, like they're going to shoot 5 kids.
Yeah.
But all right, fair enough. He wants to try and do something heroic. And he pulls it off and he gets there. And for some reason, this soldier's such a dick where he's like, listen, dude. And I don't think Billy is nearly effusive enough at the start when he gets over and he's like, oh no, I've got to go back. And they're like, oh, you ain't going nowhere. It's like, no, dude, don't bury the lead on this. Tell them if you don't get back within an hour, they're going to fucking execute 5 hostages. Yeah. Even then, when he tells him, he's like, but they'll kill you. It's like, are you not fucking listening? Let him go back so they don't murder 5 kids. Then they have to get Louis Gossett Jr. over and they go into that whole, oh, well, I can't lie to you bullshit. It's like, why would he lie? Like, why would he want to go back?
Why is he
a really good reason? It just doesn't make any sense.
Did you notice what else was missing from this film?
Not sure. Women,
females.
Maybe? Yeah. Well, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. Except for Jennifer on the phone sex line, and maybe I think I saw a female cook in the background. And I know it's an old boys' school, but fucking and the parents when they had the press conference as well.
Oh, there was that, but yeah, like you said, there's the woman on the died-in sex line, which I was wondering, is that even still a thing? I have no idea if that's a thing in 2025, a died-in sex line with the internet and all that jazz. But one of the things I wanted to ask you, because obviously there's a whole sequence where they go downstairs and they have this whole conversation about beating off, And I was like, if I watched this when I was 10, would that have totally gone over my head? And I'm sure, like, to kids now, that would seem ludicrous because they've got the internet and they're all so much more clued in. When we were young, in particular, we were like really naive, super naive until we got into like 14, 15. I remember this kids, like just clear as day, came up to me. They were like older kids in high school. And they came up to me and my friend, and we were in like the second year of high school. So I was like 12, 13. And he's like, oh, so do you two like masturbate with your dads? And me and my friend just looked at each other and went, no, I didn't know what he meant. I had no idea what he meant. I was like the idea of asking a 13-year-old if he knows what that means now. I assumed they all would. But when I was 13, I had no idea. And I suspect if I'd watched this when I was 10 or 11 years old, I'd be like, I have no idea what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, I do remember the first time I watched it, they went over my head.
Okay, that's good.
To the point, yeah. And like the reason why I use that quote at the end, at the beginning, which is gross, by the way, is because that joke went over my head.
But it's part of growing up,
does anybody have a sister? Yeah.
It was one of those like amazing things. It's happened with a whole bunch of films. The one that really always stood out for me was Ghostbusters, because obviously I watched it so many times when I was a kid, and then all of a sudden watching it again when I was like 14, I was like, "Oh, that's a sex joke! That's a sex joke!" And I was like, I had no idea. Like, the ghost floating over Dan Aykroyd's character when Bill Murray goes to see Dana when she's possessed. All of that is filth, and I had no idea when I was younger. It's absolutely unbelievable. But one of the things that totally reminded me of my youth, actually, and just like how weird it was. And again, it was just due to the scarcity of porn back in the early 90s, was they're all like sitting around on the phone listening to porn together. And that seems ludicrous and uncomfortable. Bethan was just like, why would guys do that where it's just dudes listening to porn? I was just like, listen, one of my friends found his dad's porn when we were like 11 years old. His mum and dad were away for the weekend. We all went around his house and just watched the porn together. And I remember at that age being like, this is uncomfortable. But you were just like, but I'm not going to leave because I might not see porn again for another 3 years. So you just sat there in a room with 5 other dudes where you're just like, oh, they've probably all got boners. This is really creepy.
But it's not just the boner thing. It's then they're all going back to a shared room to jack off.
Horny as fuck. Well, that was the first thing they did. Like, they don't even mention the fact that they're a terrorist there. The first thing he does is like, oh, where's my Playboy? It's like, God damn. Yeah. And even the dean is impressed by the levels with which they're willing to go to for porn. Like, he always has that wry smile, Louis Gossett Jr. It's like, oh, you kids. I can't stand the fact that Billy gives Louis Gossett Jr. such a hard time when he is clearly the nicest fucking dean in cinema history.
I did like it. His face when he sees that there's an active line. And he picks up the phone, and the first thing he hears is, "My nipple is dark red," and just the face. He goes, "Whoa!" Like, I guarantee in his mind, well, that's Billy, by the way.
Yeah.
Speaking of the kids, we haven't mentioned we've said Billy a lot. You've got Joey, Snuffy, Hank, and Ricardo, right? Joey gets, for lack of a better word, snuffed out by the guys.
Which is, sorry to butt in, but I thought was a perfect example of the tone of this film, because I was just like, they build him up this whole idea is like, oh, Joey's father's like an Italian gangster. He's like a
Yeah.
mob boss and stuff. And he's the one early doors who's just like, oh, let's just steal a gun and fucking cap these guys. And he finally does what he says he's going to do. And I was just like, oh, Joey's going to be like a badass. And I was like, oh, no. Joey is going to completely fuck it and get smoked immediately. When he got gunned down on the steps after like doing like an Austin Powers or what was it, True Lies style machine gun scene where it just kind of goes immediately out of control and he just gets unceremoniously capped. I was like, God damn, this film is not fucking around.
What are the others? Who should have got capped next? And there's only one answer.
Who is it then? Who would you go for?
It's Snuffy.
It probably would be Snuffy, right? He's the only one who really kind of is in any way memorable, I think.
Yeah, he's just a pain in the ass as well. I'm just not like it was something that made me laugh. A lot of this made me laugh when I was rewatching it. But when they've got the book, conveniently there's I don't know, the yearbook or whatever just happens to have a picture of the grounds. Great, fantastic.
Yeah. Sure.
But when they're circling where all the guys are, and then they're giving them their names, and Ricardo goes, that's, I don't know, Esteban, that's Carlos, that's... And Snuffy turns around and goes, that's right, you do speak Spanish. Well, because he knows their names. It's not like in Spanish their names are different.
Yeah, I think it was like he, in fairness, when he says those names, he does it with a bit of an accent. He's
but
like,
still,
that's Carlos.
Still the names. I said it's Carlos.
Yeah, but I think that is actually one of the perfect, like when it only gets kind of, it doesn't get overplayed, but the idea that these kids are actually friends and the way they interact with each other is actually quite natural, which I like. It's like they have a scene later on when he's just like, dude, I can like when he calls him a wop and he gets upset and he's like, no, dude, I can totally call you a wop. You're one of my friends. And I was just like, yeah, those are the rules. Like I can say anything to my friends and they can't take offense because they know it's not coming from a mean-spirited place. If someone else calls them that, we can go kick their asses. But I'm allowed, like, if one of my friends got upset because I called him a fucking wop, and I'm just like, whoa, dude, what the fuck? I can totally say that. I like those scenes. Like, if one of my friends was like, say like half Spanish or Mexican, whatever he is, and he suddenly starts reading the names with a bit of an accent, I give him a fucking hard time as well. I quite like that scene, to be honest. Which, don't get me wrong, doesn't negate your point. He's still a bellend.
I don't think he was doing it like you were doing it though. It was just like they were going back to no. He can speak Spanish. Like yeah, but okay, but he wasn't speaking Spanish. He was just saying their names. Speaking of the friends, did you recognize Hank, played by T.E. Russell?
I did not.
So I've recognized him in the past, but I've never put two and two together because I've never looked into it. But for the podcast, I looked into it. We've seen him on this podcast. It was one of my picks, so that's not going to help you.
Class, yeah.
He played a character called Spitz in the Better Gladiator. Remember the boxing gladiator?
Yeah, I remember. Do you know, I had kind of forgotten that movie. Again, another kind of totally whatever school movie, to be honest. Actually, this is better than Gladiator, make no mistake. This is better than Gladiator.
But he played the character Spitz, so he was like the one who started the argument with our hero in Gladiator, the one who...
That's a perfect example of like how to do kids in a movie versus how not to. Like in this, even though they're all like posh and like you say, and as I said, I don't really buy Sean Austin as being a tough guy. As a group of kids, I think they're totally convincing. Whereas if you go and watch Gladiator and the way they line up, it almost looks like Michael Jackson's Bad, the music video. It's just like, all right, guys, with the fucking hats and all that jazz. It's just, I don't buy any of you as human beings. Whereas these guys, I kind of buy them as like posh kind of washouts. I totally do. And I think that's and again, maybe that's because it comes from a book, so the characters are more grounded for that purpose. But that was one of the things I actually really enjoyed about this, other than, and I like the fact that it went big at the end. But for the most part, it does go to relative lengths to go, okay, well, we're not going to make the kids do anything too ridiculous. And any of the actions are going to be based somewhere in the realm of common sense reality. Like even at the end when things kick off and they actually choose to trust the kids, for that to make sense, they need to kill off Callie's dad, the drug dealing dad.
Yeah.
Because they're just like, oh no, listen, we obviously we weren't going to listen to these kids. We were gonna kind of work with the terrorists and kind of come to a deal. But once they realize, like, dude, as soon as we tell this fucking psycho his dad's been killed in prison, he's going to just massacre these kids. So the only hand we've got left is to listen to this fucking random kid who's handed us a few drawings and hope this works out. So even though it's ludicrous at the end, narratively, they're forced into a position where they're just like, oh yeah, what else are they going to do? They kind of have to go with this route, go down this route, sorry.
And this brings us to the perfect point, right? of you say ludicrous,
Mhm.
the absolute ludicrousness of it, and the fact that like it's so convenient that yogurt Derek
Mhm.
is a robot, not robotics, I don't know, a radio mastermind. Like he knows what the
Apparently
detonator
so.
looks like. He
Yep.
knows like was it Billy calls it the garage opener door thing on his wrist. Will that work? And he says yes. And it's like, oh, the reverse is true. If you replace this chip and this chip and like, and
It's weird because they really lean into the whole remote control airplane detonator thing for so long, and all of a sudden you realize that a lot of the plot, especially the finale, kind of revolves around it,
yeah,
and it's all kind of silly until you stop and think about it. Go, oh, it is kind of essential. Like that scene where he's having the kind of fake asthma attack. It's like I was like at one part, I was like, why do you even need the plane? Is it just like a visual thing? It's like, oh no, because if they don't have the connection to the plane, then the lights on his wrist thing will go off. Like you need the connection there, so
yeah.
he thinks that it's all still hooked up. So you need it connected to something else other than the bomb. So it's like, oh yeah, it does kind of make sense in the end, but it feels like a kind of long, slightly convoluted way to get there.
I don't understand the narrative thing that as well about making the chips different colors. Like why you
Mhm.
needed that because that didn't mean anything.
I didn't think it made
He's going to
shit of
replace
sense.
the red with the blue. Well, no, replace the different color chips, mate. They look exactly the same, but they're different colors. Oh yeah, it should work. It's fine. Like, why do we? Are they set intention for it to maybe it doesn't work when he presses the button?
Yeah,
Or
I think what they're trying to set up there is like a classic red wire, blue wire situation, but they don't. Again, maybe it works in the book, but in the movie, there's just no sense of threat. There's no like, oh, dude, if you put this in and it's the wrong kind of one, it might blow up. Like that's what they should have sold it on. It's like, oh, dude, if you get this wrong, the whole place might fucking blow. But they don't. They're just like, well, it's blue and that one's red. Does it matter? I don't know. Let's just do it anyway. It works. We move on. I completely agree with you. It's just like that just felt like a wasted opportunity. And the fact that they were red and blue specifically felt like it was a clear nod to the whole red wire, blue wire thing,
yeah,
but it just didn't go anywhere. And it felt like this movie was actually one of my criticisms of this film is that it's probably
sorry,
10 minutes too long.
sorry. Before you move on,
Yeah,
I just
go for
wanted to
it.
mention yogurt and stuff.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Sometimes you
Sorry.
that's right. Sometimes you've got to take a pause after you finish the point before you move on because
No,
I'll
no,
have
no,
a
no. I
rebuttal.
refuse. I refuse.
I just wanted to mention because I wish I didn't look into it, but I did, so I'm going to mention it. Yogurt was played by an actor called Sean Phelan, who
Mhm.
fucking bless him. Uh, and so this was his first theatrical film, released in '91. On March 29th, 1994, at age 19, his Toyota Corolla was broadsided. He suffered a traumatic brain injury and he was left in a coma for 4 years, and then he died in '98. Like
See,
fucking
this is why I
harsh, dude.
keep talking. So I just don't want to give you the opportunity to completely nosedive this podcast into abject misery. That is
Oh no,
such a sad story.
dude, we've got to give him his like we
No,
got
I
to give him
know,
his
I know.
due though.
You do have to mention that is such a
Yeah,
sad story because you never know with these actors what would they have gone on to, blah blah blah. But it
yeah.
is like if you're wondering, it's like why haven't I seen this kid in anything else? Because he is perfectly good in the movie. It's because he had that horrendous accident, and yeah,
And
fucking
speaking of
horrible
kids,
stuff.
and I know you wanted to mention like it was 10 minutes, and I'll let you get to it.
That's okay, no worries.
But I felt for Yogurt's roommate, who didn't really have a line,
Hmm.
didn't do anything. He just like sorry, he did have a line. These guys are crazy. Like that was literally it. I
Again,
don't
it
even know his
just
name.
I suspect that there's quite a few scenes on the cutting room floor. There's just, again, I think it's because it's based on, if this wasn't based on a book, I think you would like find a way to pare back the number of characters involved on screen. There's just a little bit too much going on. And
Yeah.
even amongst the friends, like some of them can get pushed towards the background because there just isn't enough screen time because they want to keep the emphasis on Billy and Lewis Callie and all that jazz. And the
And do
same with
you
there's
think
like,
do you think as well that it was intentional early '90s that the two characters they pushed towards the background just were Ricardo and Giles?
maybe. I think Ricardo was there just to make the football scene make sense. So he mentioned the fact that obviously he goes out of the school, and to make that work, it was always surprising at the start of the film for a start when they're running back, and you're just like, wait, have they been playing football, or as the Americans would call it, soccer? It's like, oh, well, now it's a posh school. Because unlike in the UK where it's a working class game, I assume in America, outside of like the southern states and links to South America, that for a lot of kids it might be quite a posh spot. I don't know. I have
Especially
nothing to back it up.
especially early '90s. It
Yeah,
always
yeah, yeah,
shocks
yeah.
me when I watch films from the '80s and the '90s and there's reference to soccer, football.
Mhm, mhm.
I think fucking hell, I didn't think it went over there until like the late 2000s. Like, and so
Well, it's had like weird spells, hasn't it? Because obviously
yeah,
Pele went over in the 70s and it had a spell, then it kind of dropped off, and then there was the build up to USA 94. Then the women's game had this big thing at the end of the 90s. But anyway, it's one of those sports which for a long time would kind of come in and out of fashion almost, whereas now it's kind of taken more of a foothold. But I was glad at least that they got the South American to because make no mistake, to make that plan work, he's got to hit a window with that football first time from a fair old distance. I'm like, that is not an easy fucking shot. And, he nails it, fair enough.
it's not just that.
But
He's not getting the countdown, by the way.
no, no, no.
Trotter, Joey is giving the countdown to Billy
Yeah,
behind
yeah.
his back. And it really, really upset me that he counted from 1 to 5. If
Yeah,
you're
it's
going to do
strange.
anything, wouldn't you count down? Wouldn't you have,
Yeah, especially
like,
when you don't have like a specific thing. You're like, I'm waiting for him to kick the ball.
Yeah.
It was mental. I mean, I will give him that. Like that scene was mental, and obviously it didn't work out for him on the steps where he got killed. But watching this film, there was that element because obviously, a lot of people think of him from Star Trek, The Next Generation, and stuff like that. But for me,
Yeah.
growing up, I always thought
Stand
of
By
Bill
Me.
Wheaton as Stand By Me, and you watch this film, you're just like, why wasn't he a star again? Like he became this kind of like geek culture kind of, the king of the geeks almost for a while, didn't he? And I think he was on The Big Bang Theory and all that jazz. But you see him in this in particular, and you'd be like, surely there's a world where he got more in the way of, if not leading roles, like supporting roles. But it just never quite worked out for him, did it? But he's good in this, I think.
He's good in this, and to be fair, he's good in most things he does. But he's just he's never had that bit of a like it factor to take him out of the nerdy culture, I guess. Like,
well, he's just never had the role since Stand By Me, and that was so long ago, and it was when he was a kid. It just doesn't count in the same way, does it?
Like
Such an odd one.
He's done like that guy is always working, but it's always like TV movies or bit parts or voiceovers.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
fuck, I mean, but he's always and to be fair, if you can turn around and say, look, I've worked since day one. I have been
Yeah. I'm not being critical. I'm just saying
149 projects. Like,
this is interesting, right? You say that because I didn't count, but when I was looking at Sean Austin, I was suddenly like, fuck, man, Sean Austin has been busy. So has he done more than Will Wheaton? Is it more than 149? Because he looked like I was
188 projects with five in the bag ready to come. So
yeah, he does not fuck around, Sean Austin. He's another one of those guys, kind of like soccer in America. He kind of comes in and out of fashion. He kind of, he has his moment here, then he kind of drifts off for a little while, then he's back with Lord of the Rings, then he goes away from it, then he's back with Stranger Things. But in the background, he's always working. Apparently, like you look at his IMDb, he is always working. Yeah. And everyone always likes Sean Austin. It's just, when you see him now in particular, you're just like, wait, he was like the tough kid? It's just like, yeah. Like I said, evolutionary development. It was a strange choice.
Prep school, of course he was the tough kid. You know who we haven't mentioned? Who we need to mention is Ali Ernie as the general. My God, I always forget. Like when he rocks up in this, it's so weird. Like his script doesn't have any swear words in it or dressing down anybody. He is just the guy who's. It doesn't feel right, does it? It's like watching Samuel L. It's like watching Samuel L. Jackson not say the word motherfucker. Like
it is a little bit, yeah. And I think it's because you think he's going to have more screen time when he shows up, but basically his role is taken by the dean. It's like everything he should be doing, the dean is doing instead, and they're trying to build up that relationship, which isn't quite there on screen. I always like watching Louis Gossett Jr. I mean, I've never seen Iron Eagle. I know you're a fan. I've not actually seen that many of his movies, to be honest. I mean, God, what is he else in? I know he's in An Officer and a Gentleman. He was in Enemy Mine. That's the one I always forget about. We've got to do that on the podcast, man. We've got to do Enemy Mine.
It's been on the tip of my tongue to be a choice for years since we've been doing it. But the problem I have with it, I remember it being a great film, but I also remember not a lot happening for a good 50 minutes of that film.
Quite talky.
So I'm wondering if it's going to be good podcast. Do you know what I mean?
But maybe we can cover it. I think I could talk about his makeup in that film for fucking ages.
How are you?
I mean, I prefer to do that than Jaws 3, put it that way.
So, yeah, but how are you going on about Louis Gossett Jr., right? And not talking about The Punisher?
I was just going to say The Punisher.
Oh, okay, sorry.
I have not seen The Punisher legitimately since like 1991. And I know I vaguely remember him being in it, but that movie is just kind of like I have like images in my head, but none of them are moving. I just can't remember the movie at all.
You could theoretically put these two films together, The
Hmm.
Punisher and this. It's a stretch, but you could do it, right?
Hmm.
Because The Punisher is it's nothing to do with the character.
This
Like
is the 89 version specifically,
this
you
is
mean?
the
Yeah.
89
Yeah.
version, yeah. So Castle's family is killed by the mob,
Hmm. Hmm.
okay, who could be, I don't know,
Yeah.
Trotter's
Yeah.
family, Joey Trotter's family.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
I appreciate this is filmed after, but prequels is fine. And the Dean is
Hmm.
now hunting the Punisher, because Louis Goss Jr. just plays a copper who's hunting the Punisher, and
Hmm. Hmm.
it's just one of those things. Like he doesn't wear the skull or anything; he just
No.
has
No.
knives that have the skull on it, which is random.
Yeah.
He just and they're like his calling cards.
And he
Oh,
just
it's
looks.
such a
All I can remember is he just looks very grey. Everything's grey in
yeah,
that film.
yeah.
I remember like thinking it was fine when I was younger, but obviously I wasn't that attached because I never went back to it. It's weird now. We seem to be talking about the different versions of the Punisher on every podcast. I mean, obviously with that,
Yeah.
last week, a couple weeks ago, excuse me, we did the Mist, and Thomas Jane was in it, so we've got to talk about that version of the Punisher. But maybe we'll get around to the whole lot. I mean, how many are there? There's three movies in the TV show. Is that
Three
correct?
movies in the TV show, and the only one we haven't mentioned is the one I thoroughly enjoy. I do
Is that
like
yeah,
Punisher
yeah, yeah.
Warzone.
I
It's
mean, maybe I need to
stupid as
give that
fuck,
another
but I
go.
enjoy it. I tried to get Dave to watch it, Dave and his wife.
Mhm.
They turned it off within like 10 minutes. They just couldn't sit through. And I was like, what are
I
you
found
doing?
it rough, and I like I said, I thought it was a shame because I thought the Punisher in that film in particular was really cool, but I didn't like anything else that surrounded him, which was a bit of a shame. But didn't with the movies to one extent or another, they never really got the character right. But I need
Speaking
to watch
of
the TV show.
speaking of Louis Gossett Jr.,
Hmm.
you said about Iron Eagle. It is on my list. We are going to do it at some point. I just don't know if I want to make you pay for it yet because
Yeah.
it's if you make me do a film I don't want to do, then I'll bring this up. But it's only available to us in the UK on
Yeah,
Amazon Prime, but you have to buy it for £5.49. And I
I
don't know
wouldn't
if I want to
mind
make.
that.
No. I
No,
get
I
it.
know what you mean. It feels like one of those films that will show up on Amazon Prime. And make no mistake, like some of our choices, like, and it's not even on purpose, but every so often, like, you just scroll through Amazon Prime movies you like, and I'll be like, oh, that's on there. And I'm just like, it's cool that if we could do a movie for the podcast, and it's easy for other people to watch. So I feel like I know Iron Eagle's in the post at some point. It would be cool if, not just for us, but for other people, if we waited for it to show up on Prime, because surely that is in the fucking post. I'm not expecting Iron Eagle to be brilliant, but it's one of those movies where I'm almost amazed that I haven't seen it. Like I
Yeah,
remember it
I'm amazed you haven't seen
so
it.
clearly from the video shop when I was younger. I remember seeing it all the time, and for some reason we just never rented it. Weren't there like two sequels as well? Am I making that up?
Four.
Four sequels.
Oh, actually, I think there was more. I think it went up to like Iron Eagle 6.
Shit, man. How many was Louis Gossett Jr.? He was in. I know he's in as far as three. The other
No,
ones are.
Gossett Jr. ended up being the Iron Eagle. So
Oh, okay.
the kid was only in two.
Yeah. Oh, so like
No, one of
classic
them.
best of the best style with Eric Roberts. He
Yeah.
was there for one. The second one, he was just like, I don't know, I think this is going straight to DVD nonsense. So he just bounced.
Uh there was four. So there was Iron Eagle 2, Aces, Iron Eagle
Mhm.
3, and Iron Eagle on the Attack. So Gossett Jr. was the only one to appear for all of them.
Yeah, I don't need to see all of them, but I do need to see the original. So we will get around
Yeah.
to
Oh
that.
yeah,
But
I won't make you do all them, but when we do the
God
Iron
bless you.
Eagle,
Oh well.
I'll
Oh,
do
I
the
would expect
usual.
nothing more than that, and I genuinely look forward to those because I'm never going to watch all those films. But I'm like, I want to hear your fucking synopsis of all of them without
Yeah,
question.
I
So
do. I will revisit the other one. The other thing I wanted to say
mhm.
was not about this film. Again, another tangent. When you finished this film, did it recommend any films to you?
I can't remember what to recommend to you.
A film that I hadn't thought about in a while, and I realized I do have it on DVD. The
Mhm.
Principal with James Belushi
Oh yeah, I
and
remember that
Louis Gossett
movie.
Jr. Yeah,
Yeah, I've not seen. I've seen that movie once, but a long fucking time ago.
yeah,
Oh
that
no,
might be
no, I
one
think
worth
I think it
revisiting.
recommended Maniac Cop,
Oh,
bizarrely,
fair enough. Yeah,
and I was
with
just
Bruce
like,
Campbell.
oh yeah, I've still never seen Maniac Cop, which is strange. Another strange one. I'm like, I've got to get around. I
Yeah,
just kind of keep assuming we'll do it on the podcast at some point. But anyway, to bring it back to this film, um, the ending, as we kind of briefly mentioned earlier, it does go big eventually. So most of this
Yeah.
film is relatively grounded. And then when they decide, all right, we're going with the kids' plan, we're going to bring the army in, all of a sudden I'm just like, fuck, there's some budget with this film. Like, those attack helicopters, all that jazz. It's just like, oh, this was before CG was so prevalent. I was just like, I think they've just hired helicopters. There are a lot of extras. I don't think they all know what they're doing. Like, all of a sudden there's a lot of unnecessary roles and spins by the soldiers on the grounds.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the smartest move when they know the arsenal that the terrorists have, that they pull up the helicopter in the middle of the quad and they all kind of rappel down. I'm just like, dude, that's just a fucking like murder alley. Why they'd be so easily killed? But anyway,
No, it's fine. It's fine because the weird yearbook thing told them exactly where they all were. There was only 3 in the quad, wasn't there? So you take the 3 out. The 3 are not going to be able to take a helicopter out. So it's fine. They can land it in the quad.
It's
but
fine.
Fucking, they were rappelling down from places I hadn't. There was like no helicopter, but they're rappelling down. Where the fuck are you coming from?
Yeah, it all got slightly silly. Like I said, knee size unnecessary roles. But then when Lewis Callie gets shot, it's actually pretty brutal. Like when he grabs Billy at the end and you're just like, are you finally going to fucking shoot this kid in the head? Because you just, it feels like you've had the opportunity. And then he gets shot in the head. But the way they do it, you're just like, fuck. Like I audibly said that, fuck. I was just like, that is violent at the end of this film. And like, I love the fact that, the dean jumps through the window and you think he's going to do something heroic. He's just there as a distraction, just gets shot. And everybody brushes off the fact that he's being shot in the chest. Like, it's just like, he's fine. I'm just like, is he fine? I'm like, that looks like a pretty serious gun wound, but let's just get on with our fucking day.
Strange That's okay. It gave us the laugh. Oh, don't make me laugh. It hurts moment at the end.
Oh yeah. There was one bit where you're just like, oh, they're going to have they'll laugh together now. It's so silly. Which leads directly into, and I mean, I've mentioned on the podcast previously, such a big fan of this. Bring it back. You have been watching credit sequence. Why don't more movies do it where they cut to each person and they have their little moments? Of course, the Eiffel Tower, the kind of peak example of this. What was I going to say? Eiffel Tower makes no sense. Is still Predator with the music and everything else. That's the best one. This one's decent though. This one is decent.
Just before the credits rolled, when Billy runs up to them, did you notice how odd that was?
Oh, but when they're doing like these weird elbow, like
no, not the elbow. Like they're best friends. They've known each other for like 63 days.
Of course, yeah.
So they've all got their own handshakes. No, that's fine. When the camera comes and they're looking for Billy,
and they all come out to school, and Billy's coming from the opposite direction.
But that's it. Billy's running from there when the camera pans up. Okay, camera pans down. Oh, there's an ambulance. Billy's not running. Camera pans to the left. Billy's running. Camera pans to the right. No Billy. Then it goes to Billy, and now it's like he kept running, stop, go back, run again, go back. Oh, it's not my turn yet. I appreciate it was editing, but it just took me out of it when they just come on now.
Took me out is like they definitely kept the camera on the kids for like a bit too long, and they didn't quite know what to do with each other. It's like, oh, we'll just celebrate together. So they kind of do like half handshakes, and then they do the elbow things, and you're just like, all right, dude, cut away. It's just starting to look awkward and fucking weird.
But like Yoga as well. Yoga and his mate come. They keep bringing these two up. Yoga and his mate come in, right? And they're all yoga, and then nobody concentrates on the other little dude. So the other little dude's just stood there on his own going, I'll just give Yoga a nuggie. Yogurt.
Yeah. Nobody looks like they really know what they're doing at the end of this film. There's too many kids running out of school. None of them are actors. So they're all just, and the camera's like on all of them. And most of them just look like confused, like they're waiting to be told what to do.
Yeah.
And even the actual actors don't seem to know what's going on. But that whole end sequence feels like it's from a different film. It's fun. And I think the movie needed that as a little bit of catharsis. Because as I mentioned earlier, this film, one of my criticisms, it is probably 10 minutes too long. It just kind of sags for a bit before it kind of really picks off. And I think it's just because the plan's all a little bit wishy-washy, and I'm sure it works better on the page than it does on screen and stuff. But it's silly, it's fun towards the end. I'm not sure if it actually suits the rest of the movie or is befitting of the previous hour and 30, but I enjoyed it all the same. Should we move on to our favorite scene?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, one thing I want to ask, actually. When he's making the mouthwash, he mentions that he went to the store and bought 100% vodka. Yeah. Is that a fucking thing? Like you can just buy in a shop?
I don't know.
100%, but I've drunk 98% absinthe in an absinthe bar in Belgium. But that was like, oh, this is a thing. Like you go to this absinthe bar and we can blow your fucking sock, and that stuff goes right to the top fucking level, by the way, right to the top floor. I've never heard of just 100% vodka just being bought in a fucking liquor store.
Well, this is interesting. Is 100 proof 100%?
I don't know. I'm not
Because
a
he calls
liquor doctor
no, because he
or a
calls it
liquor
100,
scientist.
100 proof vodka.
Yeah,
Does
I
that
don't
make it
know.
100%?
I have no idea. I have no idea. There's a few weird things, like, I just see it as like a bit of a throwback. It's like, they mentioned cherry bombs. I'm like,
Okay,
cherry bombs
so
had like a thing in like 1991 with like Bart Simpson and this movie. The same as like, I'm not sure if you noticed, the stereo was made by Kenwood. Kenwood was totally this massive thing in like 1991. I'm not sure if you remember, but Kenwood was like, they were like electric appliances on the back of bomber jackets. And that was like the coolest thing in the world in like 1993. It was all very strange. So sorry, carry on.
that's okay. 100 Smirnoff 100 proof vodka is 48%.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Fair
So
enough. Is this like a degrees versus Fahrenheit thing in America?
Smirnoff 100 proof offers a higher alcohol content while maintaining smoothness and clarity. But I don't know what I don't know what 100 proof means.
No, me. Well, anyway, it just means it's strong. So all right, we'll allow it. We'll allow it.
Yeah, but I mean, you're worrying about that, and I'm wondering how a I don't know 16-year-old was able to buy all of this.
Yeah, especially in America. Like usually that's a certain movie, isn't it? It's like buying
Yeah.
alcohol, but he's obviously an absolute pro. So anyway, favorite scene.
Oh, there you go. Sorry.
Oh,
In the
sorry.
US, proof is double the ABV. We do it by ABV.
Oh,
So
okay, fair
100
enough.
proof equals 50%, while 80 proof equals 40.
That is still strong in fairness.
Yeah.
That is still strong. 50% vodka will fucking blow, knock
And
socks off.
ABV is alcohol by volume.
Ah, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we've learned something today. There we go. What was I going to say?
Favorite scene?
Favorite scene. I mean, like I said, the shootout at the end is pretty cool. But I actually thought, despite the fact that the sheriff is a complete moron, like we are talking about like terrorists here, and we are talking about a private school filled with like some of like, kids of the rich and famous. Like they must know this in the town. These aren't just like normal kids either. These are kids of like, elected officials, all these other things. And he's just like, nah, I'm just going to fucking roll in my car. Like the guy's like, no, dude, we need to call like the fucking cops or the army. He's like, no. I'm just going to roll in and deal with this. Gets completely smoked. The only disappointing thing is that the sheriff wasn't absolutely smoked alongside his car.
But it's like Steve, Sam, get in the back of the car. Nobody's going to see you getting there with your shotguns while we roll up. You're outside the door, dude. They've already planted everybody in the fucking towers.
It perfectly encapsulates the film. It's kind of dumb, but it's visually super impressive. Like when they blow it up, it's like, oh yeah, you're actually blowing shit up. And you get the scenery, like, it was shot, like the exteriors anyway, was shot in Virginia. The school looks amazing, the surroundings look fantastic. I actually think they should have put more emphasis on that. But yeah, when he just smokes that car, I was just like, oh yeah, this film's like for real. Like, so I'm gonna go with that.
Mine is stupid. My favorite scene. It's pots and pans. What are you doing? I'm on pots and pans. Pots and pans. What's pots and pans? Pots and pans. Oh, pots and. He just hits him in the face.
You can see where that scene was going, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, fair enough. Still good fun.
But again, he's doing all of that. You got the cooks in the background just going la 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 la, just cooking. Even when he hits him with the pan, he's just because you don't see the cooks then in the weird basement thing.
Right. Yeah, at the end. So, well, that's what my wife mentioned. She's like, where's like where are the chefs? Like, what happened to them? They've just been left behind.
They're still cooking dinner.
Very strange. Very strange. Loves and hates. So my three loves. One oddly likable cast of kids. The whole cast is actually pretty solid, but one of the things that actually stands out is that the kids are kids. Like this is an early 90s film. None of the kids are played by 27-year-olds. They're all played by genuine kids, and it does make a difference. It totally does.
Sean Astin was 20 when this was released, so I'd say
and he was one of the oldest ones, I think. So yeah, totally believe that. Number two, not as hokey as I expected. It might be predictable, but like you said earlier, like the actions throughout this film mostly feel grounded, and it does feel like it's based on a novel. For better,
I love how that's one of your loves. Yeah, it's not as shit as I thought it was going to be.
No, it wasn't like shit. I was expecting it to be, as I said, I had it in my head that it was going to be like Red Dawn but like not as memorable. Like, and that's the kind of like elevator pitch for this film is like Die Hard crossed with Red Dawn. And it's something a bit different to that. And I think it benefited from being, and certainly because I was just like, if I've not heard of it, it's just going to be like a whatever version of a film I've seen before. Whereas it actually felt quite unique, tonally at least.
Yeah.
Number three, great setting and beautiful surroundings, which I mentioned just a moment ago. So those are my loves.
I like the
Oh,
cast
and
as
Lewis
well.
Callie. Sorry, I do apologize. Got to throw him in. I think he's actually a great bad guy.
Right, you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
I like the cast, including them all. I think it's a good cast. Even the guy from Trading Places, as you said, he didn't belong, but I like the cast. I think they did really well, and I agree with you. The fact that they're not 45-year-olds playing teenagers is really good. So
Yeah. I just bought them as it wasn't just like I said earlier, it wasn't just the fact that it was played by kids. I bought them as actual kids and as human
yeah,
beings, which you often don't get in these films.
the surrounding of the school, the way everything about it, like you said, the look and everything, I think is
Mhm.
great.
Yeah.
And to be fair, as much as I joked about it, like he's made best friends in the 4 months he's been there, I love the camaraderie between them all. They've all got their stories between them. They've all got like they're a different group of kids put together in
Mhm.
circumstances that is a boarding school. So you make friends with the people who are quite like you. So I
Mhm.
think it's good.
Yeah,
I
and
think, and what I think is what was good is that they used to ride together. So the five kids would ride to set every day
Mhm.
on their own. So they built up that relationship, not the five, the seven. And the
Mhm.
reason why yogurt is called yogurt is because on the way to set one day
Mhm.
he's eating a yogurt, and as he opens it and they went over a bump, it spilled all over him. So all the
That's all you
kids,
need.
Sean Austin and Will Wheaton and everyone, start calling him yogurt in the car. The director loved it, so changed his name to. So he's credited as was it Derek? But
Mhm.
everyone
Mhm.
just they thought, oh no, fuck it, you're already calling him yogurt. Let's just keep it up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that again, perfect example of what kids are actually like. It's like, if you did something stupid when you're younger, there is every chance that would be a nickname for the rest of your life. And the worst thing you could do is if someone goes, "Oh, yogurt," because you spelled yogurt on yourself. The worst thing you can do in that situation is act like you're upset about it. Because if
yeah.
you're upset about it, that's your name for the rest of your life. There is a
We
genuine chance that that'll be the name for the rest of your life. But
we had a kid in college
sorry, go for it.
who got really angry at a name that was given to him, and it stuck. It was Bugger
Ah,
because
that's
one
not a
day he
great name.
picked his nose and wiped it in the seat, so he became Bugger.
That is old school. I remember there was a guy I used to work with, and he was telling me the story, and he was just like, "Oh, when he was in high school, and he was a prefect, which tells you half the story there." But he was just like, "Oh, I wanted a nickname." I was like, "Well, that's not a great start." So he decided one day he was going to put an ace of spades in his shirt and just
And
have the
hope
top
his name
showing.
was Ace.
Yeah, he wanted to be called Ace, and I was just like, I assume that absolutely didn't take off. He's like, no, it didn't. I was like, nobody picks their nickname. It's like it is forced upon you. That is for damn sure.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things. Like one of my friends, like when he was like 30, he just randomly told us like, oh, can you stop calling me by my nickname? He was like, dude, we're calling you that forever now. Like any chance of us calling you by your actual name just went out the fucking window the moment you asked us not to call you that name. Just fucking forget about it. But
Do
again,
I
to
know
bring
that
it.
guy?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But to bring it back to the kids, like one of the brilliant things about it is that none of them are stereotypes. I know you mentioned the one kid like, who conveniently knows everything about fucking, I don't know, like, electronics and all that jazz. It works for a
It's when he
split.
turned around and said, "Don't pull that wire. That's the detonator." Like, how the fuck do you know
Yeah, yeah. And
that's
he's
the
like the
detonator?
youngest. Yeah, he's like 12 years old, the city. But none of the kids fall into stereotypes. They do, like you said, like that is one of the main reasons this movie actually works, is that the kids just feel like kids who have been forced together and they're just a group of friends by
Okay, hang
chance.
on now. The Mexican playing soccer is not a stereotype.
They all play soccer though. They all play soccer. If he
Well,
was
they
the
all
only one, I'd give you that, but they all play soccer.
yeah, okay, they all come from the soccer field, but he's the only one who's carrying the soccer ball everywhere he goes.
Yeah, well, he needs it for later. They need to prove that
Yeah,
for.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
no,
don't
but
give a
no,
fuck about
still, yeah.
stereotype. If you gave me fucking 9 Americans and a Mexican, and I needed for a plot purpose or for to potentially save people's lives, one of these kids has to cook that football through the glass. I'm like, I'm picking the Mexican dude. I'm picking it like it's not a guarantee, but it's like if you had like 5 random kids and you had to pick like one to be on your basketball team and 4 of them were white and one of them was black and I don't know anything else about them, I'm like, it's not a guarantee the black kid will be better than the white kids, but he's probably going to be better than the white kid. So I'm going to roll the dice. I'm going to pick the black kid and
Is
I'm
that
going to pick the
always
Mexican kid.
It's that Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode, isn't it? When they're
Oh
teaching
yeah,
the
that's
kids
exactly it.
basketball. He goes, right,
And
I
he's
got
like,
my
well,
team.
you can't do that. It's like, well, why
Yeah.
not? Why can't it? You know what
Yeah.
you've done. You know exactly, exactly. In terms of my hates, um, the number one is the somewhat dumb, albeit well-armed terrorists. I still, after watching the film, I can't decide if they're really good terrorists or really terrible terrorists. I think they're literally both. Number two, and I've kind of alluded to it earlier, could arguably be 10 minutes shorter. And number three, all the kids are oddly casual about terrorists taking over the school, like unbelievably casual about terrorists taking over the school. But maybe it's because the terrorists are unbelievably casual about the kids just going about their business. So, could be a chicken and the egg situations. But those are my hates.
So I'll go on from your last one. I had the casualness of it all as well, in
Mm-hmm.
regards to an explosion happens outside, nobody moves, nobody does anything. So just everything just carries on.
It
It's
is.
absolutely
It
fun.
is for an hour. Considering this is a film with terrorists and kids in school, it's enjoyable, but it's oddly low key for a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
It really is.
Uh, the other one was their intel seemed odd. Like they just kept getting late for everything. It was like, come on, you could have wrote
Terrible.
something better than oh yeah, we're watching
Once,
we're watching the wrong plane.
once is fine. The fact that they do it twice, you're just like, well, at some point, I'm just like, these guys are just incompetent. This is ridiculous.
And finally, it's Michael Champion as Jack Thorpe. He seemed out of place completely. There was no explanation of why the white guy was with all the Colombians.
So
Like,
weird.
he's speaking Spanish, it's absolutely fine. But it's just like he's just more like a campaign manager than anything else. But he is like so the second in command. Nothing
Yeah, he really
happens
is.
without it. Yeah.
But
So
that's what I mean. The whole like novel thing, certain things, you have to assume that the character is also white in the book, and that's why they've taken it across. But they just haven't got enough screen time, or it's on the cutting room floor somewhere. There is an explanation as to why the fuck he's white and why he's like running with all these Colombian drug lords, but it's never explained in the movie. And
oh,
it
and
is. There's make no mistake, it's distracting as fuck.
let's not argue. He's not just white. He is fucking albino white.
Like I said earlier in the podcast, like he's like white as fuck. There's just no two
Yep.
ways about it. Like you said, you can't even get into that whole mindset of like, oh, maybe he's got like, like a Colombian mother or something. It's like, no, 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 no. His parents both came from Norway. It's just like he's just super white. Anyway, alternative titles for this film. This is an interesting one because usually when we do alternative titles, we're trying to find an example which is better than the one that they use, certainly in the West, in the UK, America, all that jazz. In this case, I'll be like, are they all going to be better than Toy Soldier? Are
You don't
any
like
of them
toy
going to be
soldiers, do
worse?
you?
Not for this film. It doesn't make any sense. Like I said earlier,
They just named it after the book.
Yeah, I don't. Well, maybe
Yeah.
it makes sense in the book. When I was watching the film, I was like, I still don't get it. I still don't get it.
Well, I don't know. Argentina are not going to help you. With Life in a Thread.
No, no, that's not great. No.
Brazil, Rebels and Heroes.
Mm,
Bulgaria, Little Soldiers.
maybe that's
Yeah.
probably better than Toy Soldiers.
Canada, Thugs or Heroes.
That's okay.
Finland, Tin Soldiers.
No.
I think France does it better. The School of Heroes.
Yeah, it's on
Yeah.
the nose, but it's better than Toy Soldiers for sure.
Germany, Boy Soldiers.
Yeah.
Greece, Born Commandos.
And again, all this stuff points towards like a movie which is more akin to Red Dawn. They were
Yeah.
child soldiers forced into a situation. They never feel like soldiers in this film. It's more like a Home Alone situation.
Hungary, The School of Terror.
That sounds like a horror film.
Poland, School of Outcasts.
That's okay. Doesn't mention the fact that they're all rich as fuck, but yeah, sure.
Portugal, The Siege of Heroes.
Okay.
Romania, Second-Hand Soldiers. Serbia, Lead Soldiers or Lead Soldiers. I don't know which one you're going to go with that.
Probably lead, I guess.
Yeah. Spain, Operation Toy Soldiers. And I don't know why I made that sound like there was more to come.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Nobody's really hit the nail on the head there. So God knows what the best title would be for this film. But I just don't think Toy Soldiers is it. Any facts for this movie? Other than the really sad one about the kid dying.
It's not even in there. That's just I just brought that one up for
Absolutely
giggles. No, not giggles.
No,
That's bad,
just for information because it is worth sharing because you wonder. It's like, oh well, who was that kid? It's like, well, that's the reason you've not seen him since.
So the scene where Billy eats a banana and throws a peel in the trash is improvised, including Dean Parker's response: "Pick up that banana." Before the cameras started rolling, Sean Austin asked the prop guy for a banana and then proceeded to eat it during a take, even adding a roll of the eyes when asked to pick up the peel. Aside from Louis Gossett Jr., actor reactions were pretty much genuine.
And just be clear, that scene is not happening in 2025. The rich, posh, entitled white kid throwing a banana peel at the fucking black dean. Are you fucking kidding me? When I watched it, I was just like, oh, that seemed a little bit accidentally racist. It's like, I knew he didn't throw it at him, but it was
put it in the bin, yeah.
But he was still throwing it in his general direction. The fact that he's eating a banana, like you think in most films, you've got all these kids and they're all like rich white kids. I know there is a black kid in there. And then you've got this black dean and he comes out eating a banana and throws the peel. I'm just like, dude, there are certain connotations to your actions here. But anyway, moving on.
I love how you looked into that deeper, like I should be looking into it. Whereas I didn't even think of that. But I always just look at these films and go, well, he was clearly molesting that kid.
Well, yeah.
There's a lot of grooming I see, but
well, we watch movies in different ways. That's why the podcast.
Apparently, so I've already mentioned that one. Why he was named Yogurt. The movie Major Payne was also filmed at that school, the Miller School of Albemarle.
I used to love that film when I was younger. Major Payne, the one with what's his name?
Damon Wayans.
Damon Wayans,
yeah.
Oh god, that was one of those terrible films. I used to like. There was like a brief period in my life where I seemed to watch like genuinely bad films and really enjoyed them, and then suddenly just grew out of them. I was just like, I don't need to go back to this film.
Well, apparently you haven't watched genuinely bad films because all the films I pick you've never seen.
Yeah, but those are like obscure as fuck. You're talking like properly obscure. Like this is just bad. I don't think Major Payne was that obscure.
I don't know if I've seen it, if I'm honest with you. I have to have a look. Right, Andrew Divoff has said that his role as Louis Kelly is his favorite of the work he's done.
What else? I know he's in. Was it Taskmaster or Wishmaster? He was in, wasn't
it? Wishmaster, yeah. Oh, he's been in
I've never seen those films. I couldn't think of the films he's been in.
I'll give you a couple. He's been in. So obviously he was in Lost. I say obviously, like you know. He was one of the bad guys in Air Force One. He was one of Gary Oldman's guys.
Yeah.
He was in Another 48 Hours.
Oh yeah, that's where I know him from. Yeah. But he, like you said, like it is a genuinely great role, and he's awesome in it. It's a shame his lackey's just weren't up to the task.
Highlander TV show, Tarzan: The Epic Adventures, like it just goes on.
Yeah.
Don't know those. I won't go on with all of them. Right, let me go back to the brick wall around the quad, which is actually known as the bull ring, was constructed for the film and was merely a brick facade on wood. At the end of filming, students celebrated by tearing it down.
They need to kind of like imply that there was some level of control. They can't just let them out in the field and just anything fucking goes.
Corey Feldman auditioned for the role of Derek Yogurt Case.
Okay.
Yeah. The bathroom off the dining hall isn't actually a bathroom, it's a closet.
Sorry, just to butt in. See, they could have gone without the wall because this comes back to the whole they needed to kill the kids. Remember the film Life with Eddie Murphy and Martin Lawrence? Yeah. I actually fucking love that film. I'm not saying for a while, but I used to love that film. And there's a whole sequence with the gun line. Gun line, boss, crossing the gun line, boss. And the whole thing is there are no walls, but if you run, you just get shot. Yeah. So it's just like have the fields. One of the kids tries to run away and he gets mowed down by that giant, kind of gun on the bell tower, whatever the fuck it is. And he properly gets mowed down. He's just like, oh, this movie is fucking for real. I don't know why I'm so obsessed with the idea that they had to kill a kid, but I do think it needed that little bit of threat.
Well, they did kill a kid.
Did they?
Yeah, Jimmy or Joey.
Oh, yeah, but that was retaliation. They were never. Yeah. There was never like a proactive. This is going to sound so weird. There was never a proactive kid murder, but they needed to be proactive in their murder of kids. They needed to be one example.
They killed the teacher. I don't know.
Even that wasn't in front of the kids. Maybe that's what.
It was in front of one of the kids' mind, didn't it? It was in front of one of the kids, so he's going to tell everyone.
Denholm Elliott didn't do shit in this film. They should have fucking capped him in the middle of the room in front of everyone. It's just like if you don't come back in an hour, bang bang. That's what should have happened. Anyway, sorry, Karen.
I love the fact, right, that for some reason you're advocating murder now, and I'm going, no.
This feels backwards. I was literally just thinking that this feels backwards. This feels completely backwards.
Right, moving on quickly. There's a bit of foreshadowing early on in the movie when the dean is telling Billy that he got away with spray painting the sheriff's car this time. He then goes to say that he is always going to watch Billy. As the scene cuts away, it pans to the right, and you see the wall windows of the school, the same location where, in the climactic scene, the dean will later watch over and eventually save Billy by climbing the wall to get to the office where the terrorists are holding him hostage. Fuck me, you're looking a bit too deep into that, I think.
I think that's an accident. I think that's an
Yeah.
accident, but we'll go with it. We'll go with it.
Where else have we got here? At the end, when the guys are looking for Billy, he was running towards them in the background. After a cutaway, you see Billy run through the guards back to the gate and come and meet his friends. So that's what I said anyway.
I'm not surprised to hear that there aren't millions of facts of this film. Although,
Oh,
you know,
fuck
you
no.
look at it, and as I said, it was one of those films that like totally passed me by. Again, I think it literally might be the title and the poster that was just like, what even is this film? But people do like this film. They really do.
So I don't know if this fact actually goes with what you were saying and what I've
Mhm.
said as well. In the book, Joey is shot by the terrorist instead of Joey going outside and being shot. So it doesn't actually say whether or not he still stole the gun or whether they just shot Joey.
Oh, I see what you mean. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, I actually think they could have done with something like that, where they were just like they kind of executed Joey or something. It sounds so dark, but I do think the film needed it. Whereas like they kind of slightly, I thought it was going to be quite comedic when he comes out and he starts shooting the gun and it goes up in the air, and it was comedic for like a split second before he just got totally shot to bits. You're like, God damn,
Yeah.
that's not so funny now.
That's pretty much it. Like I said, the rest of the facts it's not really a fact. Literally, one of them on here says the sheriff really thought he could get away with putting two deputies in his car. That's literally one of the facts.
That's not a fact. That's an observation. That's an
Yeah.
observation. They've mixed those two things up. Hug to the Future. So this is where we ask a question: remake, sequel, Let It Die, or Leave Well Alone. I would argue that a remake isn't out of the question. The problem is this was like a perfect vehicle for upcoming teen stars. And they used to do it all the time in the 80s. Like you obviously had the famous The Brat Pack movies. There was The Outsiders, The Lost Boys to a certain extent. And I'm like, I just don't think they have those films anymore. Where you just be like, all right, let's take like a bunch of up and coming young actors, or just, you know, a bunch of kids we think are like quite talented. We'll put them all together in a movie with a bit of drama involved and just see who, like, you know, the cream rises to the top and all that jazz. And you just don't really get those films anymore. And I was like, I think Hollywood would benefit from, and the concept is still pretty good. And I think, you know, as much as I did like this film, there is a better version of this film out there, theoretically. And I'm just like, yeah, it'd be like a great vehicle to bring some like young talent onto the screen again and just do it in a slightly different way. Because it's like most people would be like, dude, you're remaking Toy Soldiers. Most people are like, what the fuck is Toy Soldiers? So yeah, I don't think a remake's out of the question. Not essential, but I would go for a remake personally.
Yeah, you don't really need to leave this alone or anything like that,
No,
or don't not let it die. But
no.
I agree that a remake it's easy to do this day and age, isn't it? You said get a bunch of young actors, knowns, put them in
Mhm.
a school, have terrorists around the school. You have better ideas for the terrorists. Maybe cap a kid, and you'll be happy. And then just
It's
away with the
strange
horses.
again.
So
Like
yeah,
the last one of the last ones I can remember, and obviously, you know, like, well, it did work out for a while. Was I remember we watched Attack the Block,
yeah.
and John Boyega was in it, and my wife and I were watching that film and we watched it in the cinema, and we're just like, that kid's got it. That kid's fucking got it. Whatever it is that makes you a movie star, that little extra something on screen, which like, oh, they're gonna make it. We were watching like John Boyega's just gonna fucking make it, and obviously he ended up in Star Wars. And when he was there, it was just like, I am not surprised at all. And the reason he was in Star Wars was because of Attack the Block. It was just a film, like, yeah, it was like a high concept thing with a monster, but it was an excuse to bring like a bunch of teens. Most people had no idea who they were, put them on screen in a relatively high concept idea and just see which ones flourish. And in that instance, it was John Boyega. And I'm just like, are there enough movies like that now where, you know, you'd, and like you said, narratively, structurally, this is a perfect example. It wouldn't cost a huge amount. You know, just, well, how big do you want to go with a finale, I suppose?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think a remake would be cool.
Yeah, I'm totally in agreement with this one. Usually we don't agree with these kind of things, but no, I'm in agreement. I think a remake
Yeah,
fine.
yeah, I'll go with that. Make a change. I wouldn't bring back. We've not even mentioned the director. It's Daniel Petrie Jr. He's just to be clear. He's most famous for writing credits. So he wrote Beverly Hills Cop, The Big Easy, Turner and Hooch, and a few of the others.
Yeah.
His directing career wasn't quite as successful.
No, it didn't really take off. Bless
No,
him.
it didn't. And this
No.
film, I think it wasn't massively budget. I think it was like 10 million budget. It made 15. So it was just like a bit of a whatever movie in terms of box office. Not, you know, it wasn't a flop, but it's not the kind of movie where people are like, God, we've got to hit this guy up to make another movie. So it's just one of those things. in terms of making a change, so if you can make one change to make this movie better, for me, it's like I said earlier, it's probably just move 10 minutes towards like the kind
No,
of
fuck
third act
off.
of the
You know
film.
exactly what your change is. I'm sorry to interrupt. You know what your
Go
change
for it.
is.
What
You've
is it?
said it 20 times. Cap a kid.
Oh, of course, it is Kappa Kid. Yeah, no, sorry, you are. I've written that down earlier. The answer is add stakes by shooting a kid. Which God, this see, this is what happens when you do too many podcasts together. Like every so often, I say something, and it'll be like to my cats. I'll be
Yeah.
like, Jesus Christ, I sound like my wife when I said that. Now, I was thinking about it recently because I work from home 3 days a week.
Yeah.
And it's like, the guys back in Cardiff, obviously, I don't see them that regularly because, I live up in Edinburgh and stuff. I'm like, outside of my wife, I talk to you more than anyone else. And
Yeah.
I'm like, all of a sudden now, 200 plus podcasts, I'm starting to say stuff you say. And I'm just like, oh no, he's got it in my head. I'm just like, I spent the whole podcast talking about murdering kids. And my wife would be like, isn't that the kind of thing Rob would say? I'd be like, I know what the fuck. Anyway, moving on. What would your change be?
Isn't that what Rob would say? I take 10 minutes off the films.
There we go. There we go. See, it works both ways.
Yeah.
Rob even read a review this week and watched a movie because of a review. I've got it in his head. It goes both ways.
Yes. Usually we've had this talk before. When it comes to films, I'll watch it no matter what. I don't care about the reviews. But I chose to not go and watch a film because of reviews, and I will watch a film that is highly reviewed. I don't know why I'm being sheepish about the films. Until Dawn and Sinners. You choose which one you think I'm going to go watch.
I've not seen Until Dawn. I've seen Sinners. You've made the right choice, man.
Yeah,
100%.
but
That's fine.
But I just said to Liam off pod, I just did a you. Like clearly, that's basically something you do. So
you've done a me, and then now I've just done a you. So
it's going both ways, mate.
Video games, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a Toy Soldiers video game. If I was going to make a video game of this, I would literally go back to like the 16-bit era. This has that kind of like side-scrolling, play levels as different kids. They all have different weapons. Like one would have a fucking slingshot, the other one have the remote control plane, and you just take out a ridiculous number of terrorists. The only thing is I would have like all these levels where you play as different kids, and then like the third level you play as Joey, and you have like a machine gun, you shoot, it goes everywhere, and you get immediately killed, and that level's over. Like that would be the joke. The level would literally be 3 seconds long, and Joey just gets killed, and then you just cut to the next kid. So that's what I go for. I go for a proper old school side-scrolling. They used to have them for all the movies, like Lethal Weapon 3 had one.
Home Alone 2.
Home Alone. And they were all ostensibly the same fucking game. So I would just have that, only with, like I said, a level for each character.
Let's be clear, your idea is the right idea, but just to be different, I was thinking about like schools and stuff like that, and the only thing I could come up with was Rockstar Games, Canis Canem Edit, or was later changed to Bully. Yeah,
that's a great shout.
So you're walking through the school. You could be Billy in the school, or you could change it to Billy, not
Billy.
Bully.
Yeah, Billy would totally work for this, 100%. Oh no, you've said that. Yours is absolutely the correct answer. 100%.
I don't know. I like the idea of yours. I do like old school gaming every now and then.
Yeah, but like you said, in terms of structure and stuff with the school, and Billy would almost be like a slightly more likable version of that. Yeah, I can totally see the Bully version, just Bully with terrorists attacking the school. I think that'd be quite fun. So yeah, let's go for the Rockstar one. So best and worst of IMDb. So this is where we pick a random 10-star and 1-star review for the movie and see what those cycles have to say. In terms of how many reviews are worth for this film, it has to be.
I'll give you a hint. No, it's not. Go under 100.
72.
Oh, 87.
Oh, not too far off. And 10-star reviews of the 72, I'll go with 14.
18.
Oh, pretty close.
Yeah. Right.
I'm not surprised that there are a few, though. I can see why, like you said, I think the important thing with this film, because make no mistake, this is not a 10-star film, but it might have been if you watched it when you were like 11 years old. Like I can totally see why you have that attachment to it from if you watched it for the first time when you're 11, 12 years old. Perfect time to watch it.
I don't usually give you the name of the people that wrote it. I just I tell you when it was written. I give you the title and then I read the review. Okay.
Yeah. You never read like Muff Hunter 27 or something like that or whatever.
So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I'm gonna read this person's name because I mean, A, I think he's a Blink-182 fan.
Okay.
B, it's like when you had your first email address and then somebody asks you for it as an adult. What's your email address? Like Big
Back to
Dick
Muff Hunter
20 or
again.
something. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's
something
like
like
I
that,
see my email address. All this shows is my age because it's just my name. But my Xbox gamer tag, I got it at the start of the 360 era, and I was obviously too excited. It was when what's it called Anchorman was at its peak, and
yeah.
I wrote I was supposed to be Papa Burgundy 23, and I spelt it wrong, so it was Papa Bugandi 23. Dude, that was like fucking 20 years ago, and I'm still stuck with Papa Bugandi. And people are like, why is your name Papa Bugandi? I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to fucking explain myself. This sucks. So sorry, carry on.
Right, that's okay. So this was written in August 2003 by Loser Poo Poo 182.
Oh, that's a rough one. That's a rough one.
Yeah. Right. Titled A Comedic Action-Filled Movie That Everyone Needs to See. John Austin pulls off another amazing performance in Toy Soldiers. He plays the highly intelligent prankster Billy Tepper, along with Will Wheaton and Keith Coogan, who play his best friends Joey Trotter and Jonathan Snuffy Bradbury. During a regular day at St. Anselm's School for Boys, a group of dangerous terrorists take all the boys and teachers as hostages and threatens to blow up the school if the leader, Louis Callie, his father, isn't released from the American prison. But these aren't just ordinary boys that are taken hostage. Most of these kids are the sons of very powerful people in America, and half of them were expelled from other schools before they came to St. Anselm's. Their mouths and actions just may get them killed. When the government is desperately trying to figure out a way to help, Billy, Joey, Snuffy, and some more boys decide to take matters into their own hands. Thank you for that review, which is basically a synopsis of the film.
I was going to say it was just a synopsis of the film.
Yeah.
didn't show a great deal of insight, but yeah, it was just a synopsis of the film. Fair enough.
That's the problem with random. I'm not going to go back and choose another one. That was random. That's what we got.
Oh yeah, that's what we got.
Yeah.
We just got a synopsis. So in case you haven't seen the film, there you go. In
There you
case
go,
we didn't
yeah.
provide it over the last hour, there's a synopsis of the movie.
I
for
do
you.
feel like Joey, Snuffy, and some ethnic kids.
Yeah.
That's basically what he said in that. Then.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
But sadly, that's also how the film treats them to a certain extent.
Oh fucking hell! 1 stars,
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised if it's quite even. I'll go with 18 as well.
2.
2. Oof,
2.
fair enough.
Yeah,
I
not
thought
many
some
people
people
hated
swing
this
down
film.
with this. And no, I can't. Actually, 18 was far too high. There isn't really a reason to hate this film.
No. Okay, so written in March 2022, titled "Obnoxious 90s Flick."
Ouch.
Screenwriters here had a strange idea: make the audience hate the main characters. That idea didn't turn out great. Main characters are annoying, hateful, entitled, selfish, vulgar, and cruel. Little shits. From the first scene of the movie, the audience can't stand them, destroying property and harassing a security guard. I'm supposed to root for these jackasses? On the contrary, I was rooting for embarrassingly miscast Andrew Divoff from Wishmaster to mow them all down once he had the chance. Toy Soldiers is a dreadful waste of celluloid that's just half-baked Red Dawn. A really poor effort. Couldn't make it past 30 minutes. Done. You sure this isn't you? I mean, first of all, cap a kid again.
Well, no. He lost me at horribly miscast Andrew Divoff. Like, I can understand if you didn't get on with the kids, especially them being rich, posh kids, all that jazz. You're just like, maybe they aren't the most likable. I disagree with that kind of thing. But to say Andrew Divoff is miscast as Lewis Callie, like, he's fucking awesome in this film. I don't know what the fuck this crazy person's talking about. Yeah, 1 star is incredibly harsh for a film, which is at its worst, like, vaguely likable. It's just not a bad film. It's not. I'm not saying it's a great film. It's not a 10-star film either. But it's more of a 10-star film than it is a 1-star film. Like, someone wanting to make the argument that it's a 10-star film, I'm going to disagree with you, but I'll listen in. If you want to tell me this is a 1-star film, I'm just saying, nah, it's fucking. It's just not, dude. It's not.
I mean, it's a spoiler for the next section, but it's mid. It is so mid. It's ridiculous.
Oh, there's that term. I hate the term mid, but I also agree with you. Rating and recommendations, unsurprisingly, mine is 3, and I'm gonna say no. And that's not like a massive criticism. I'm just like, I'm not gonna tell anybody that they have to see this film in 2025. But I thought it was perfectly enjoyable. My wife enjoyed it as well. She had no idea what the film was going into it, and we both came out and went, "That is about as 3-star movie as you get." But it's a likable 3-star film. It's not one of those ones, like, I'll remember this film in a weird way. Like we said, there are certain films. I think we were talking about Captain America: Brave New World before we started the podcast. That's a perfect example of a 3-star film, which I was forgetting as I left the cinema. This film is going to stick with me to when it's like, I won't forget that I've seen Toy Soldiers. And like, that's not some big thing. It's just one of those films where you're just like, oh, this is quite like, the cast is oddly memorable. The premise is there's something, like you said, unique about the tone where, like you say, you think this is going to be, it's not as violent as Die Hard. It's not as silly as Red Dawn. Because it's based in a novel, it kind of sits in this kind of in-between place. And for that reason, it kind of ends up being cinematically unique, despite the fact that, as I said, it is relative, it's by the numbers in terms of, exactly where this is going to go. But the journey itself feels somewhat unique. So 3 stars and no, but yeah, perfectly watchable. And if somehow you've managed to listen to this podcast and you haven't seen it, it's on Amazon Prime. And this always sounds weird because I'm going to tell you to go and watch it, but this is people who are listening to this podcast. It's like, you could do worse than watch this film. But as we've said so many times, when it comes to recommendations, is if someone random in work says, "Oh, I saw this film Toy Soldiers on Amazon, should I watch it?" I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm going to tell you to watch it, but perfectly good fun all the same. No, what? So
you done?
Yeah, I'm done.
You sure?
Yeah, like Jesus Christ.
You kept convincing yourself to carry on.
Well, I don't know. I get carried away. So it's because I start these podcasts with a very large can of Red Bull, and obviously I'm not accustomed to drinking them, so I get a little bit carried away. So your recommendation and
basically for your, like, whatever that was, that 10-minute diatribe, it's a 3-star, and actually I would recommend it. If somebody asked me to should they watch it, I'd say yeah, give it a go. It's I enjoyed it, and it's fun. It's just over an hour and a half of fun.
No, it's actually a little bit longer than that. That was one of the things, as I said, with the 10-minute thing. It's an hour and 50. And there is a period when it does start to feel like that. There was just, like I said, one period towards the end where I started looking at my watch. I'm like, how fucking long is this film? It comes back around, so it's fine. But a little bit too long. So that's been 1991's Toy Soldiers. Next week it's my choice, and this one was requested by Adam Havasweden. I'm not sure how you pronounce his second name. Adam Havasweden. I don't know. Sounds Malaysian.
He sounds like somebody we shouldn't be listening to for recommendations.
Apparently not. Well, we're going to find out, because this is a movie I've not actually seen. But when he mentioned it, one of the reasons he said we should do it is because it is incredibly 80s. And I was like, he is right. So the year is 1985.
Okay. One thing we should say, in case people think we're just being mean, this is one of Liam's best friends, by the way. So
Adam Havasweden. Yeah. I'm just being a dick. Yeah. He's fucking awesome.
1985. No, go on.
The director is Tim Burton, which is the surprising thing about this film.
Oh, it's not Scissorhands, is it? That wasn't 85.
Nope.
Tim Burton, 85. Oh, fucking hell. No, it's Pee-wee.
Yeah, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. A movie
Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Forgot Tim Burton directed, and it's one I've never seen. I was never actually the biggest fan of Pee-wee, and I think that was the reason I never watched the film. But I know it's like iconic, and you look back, the reviews were good, and I'm like, yeah, I bet you this is 80s as fuck. And I think if ever I'm going to watch Pee-wee's Big Adventure, it's for this podcast. And I think if nothing else, it'll deliver plenty to talk about. So
then, what did I do to you?
What do you
mean? Well, making me watch Pee-wee.
Well, don't you think it'll be like an interesting one? Unless you've seen it.
I've seen it.
Oh, well, so you don't like it then?
I don't remember enjoying this film at all.
Well, we're going to find out next week. Well, anyway, it was requested. We skipped a couple of weeks, and we didn't pick it because we were doing the end of the World Series. And he kept saying, it's like, why haven't you done Pee-wee's Big Adventure? It's like, we'll get there, dude. So, the great thing is, if it's terrible, we can blame Adam. So, there is that. But I think this could be interesting. I'm actually oddly looking forward to this, because even if it is a complete shit show, like I said, I think it will provide plenty of talking points.
Oh, yeah, plenty. Is Samuel Lawrence Fishburne in this, or was he just in the TV show? I can't remember.
I have no idea. I literally, all I know is Paul Rubin is like, he's trying to find his bike. That's all I know about this film.
Yeah, he becomes a badass once his bike gets stolen. I remember him drowning a guy in a pool. So
that's one of the things I heard about. So I think that's going to be an interesting one. So do join us next week for 1985's Pee-wee's Big Adventure. As always, I mean, if you've come this far, do download, subscribe, all that jazz. We're on YouTube, we're on all the podcast channels, all that nonsense. So, do help us out there if you get the opportunity. Anything else, Rob, before we wrap this up, Rob?
No, the only thing I want to mention, I've just found out the Masterminds, the other Die Hard in the School, is also on Amazon Prime. So unless you watch it on your own, which I don't think you go into, I'm going to do it for the podcast.
Masterminds.
Yeah.
The
Patrick
thing is, I
Stewart
don't
one
want
I
to
was
be
on
I don't want to be critical because I've never seen it, so I don't know. So you've thrown a couple of curveballs in the past. Some of them have landed, some of them haven't. But like I said, when you said Toy Soldier, I was like, the fuck is Toy Soldier? I've never even I didn't know anything about it. Quite enjoyed it.
It won't be my next choice. I'm not going to subject you to so many Die Hard in a schools all in one go.
This isn't an official Die Hard in a school season,
But sooner or later, you're getting Masterminds.
So this is kind of in the post the same way that like Iron Eagle is.
Eagle is, yeah.
Yeah,
but this is definitely for free on Amazon Prime, so you're going to watch it. Yeah.
Who knows? I've been Liam, he's been Rob, and you have been listening to the Hey Guys podcast. Cheers, guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.
Oh, and before I forget, where can folk reach us if they were so inclined to?
Well, you can actually reach us on Hey You Guys 80s at Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. But if you want to send us a mail, do heyyouguys80s@gmail.com. Send us in your recommendations. Send us in your thoughts about any of the episodes. Just literally talk to us. We'll have a one-sided talk with you on the podcast.
Yeah. We're nice folk. Get in touch. But no, cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye now.